My name is Melissa Franzen, and my great-great-grandfather, John Turek, was on the Eastland. He and two of his daughters, there were six kids in the family, two daughters, Elma and Edna, went with him the day of the Eastland, and they ended up drowning. My great-grandma never really talked about it. John and Edna had six kids, well, eight kids, and six were living the day of the Eastland. My great grandma was the eldest of those six living children, and she did not go because she had to stay home and help watch the three youngest. They were 6 months, 2 years, and 4 years at the time, so great grandma had a lot to help with. So her two younger sisters, Elma and Edna, went instead. And luckily, great grandma didn't go, otherwise, our family wouldn't be who we are and where we are today. But great grandma would never really talk about it. And after the Eastland sank in 1915, my great-great-grandmother was remarried in 1919, and then she contracted tuberculosis from her second husband, and she passed away. So the four kids were all orphans, and they were kind of cast to whomever would take them at the time. So luckily, my great-grandma married my great-grandfather because he was serving during World War I here in Chicago at Fort Sheridan, I believe it was. So they ended up going back to Iowa, which is where we're all from now. But the three youngest, one was kind of gifted to a neighbor, one was gifted to a family member in Chicago, and another one was sent to California to live. So they were just kind of cast and orphaned, and the family just kind of spread to the wind.
So tell me about the binder that you have there.
I am a family history nut, and so I started doing genealogy when I was in high school, and 20 years later, this is my Eastland binder. It's full of newspaper clippings that tell my family story. My grandmother's uncle John, one of the kids that was orphaned, actually went into the newspaper business, and so there are articles that he wrote from the Newton, Iowa newspaper about his family's story and what had happened and where he ended up. So it's just a really important binder full of interesting things about the Eastland that are important for our family. I think family history in general is really important. It's important to know who you are and where you came from. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you rooted, it lets you know that you're not in this alone. And it's amazing how one different choice could completely alter history forever. And we're just lucky that things turn out the way they turn out. My grandma is now 99 years old, and it was funny, I was talking to her the other day about wanting to come here, and she said, oh, if I was 20 years younger, I would have loved to have been able to come with you, so she couldn't make the trip, but she always enjoys when we come to the ceremonies here, and I bring the programs back and tell her about what happened and who spoke, and it's just really cool seeing her get excited because it was something that she was never allowed to talk about as a kid. So it's almost like my grandma's trying to learn vicariously through me about what happened, so it's just nice to bring some of that family history back to her that she didn't know. So he was about 2 at the time. He was shipped to a relative, and he actually really hated that family, so he ran away and rode the rails for a long time and was picked up by the authorities and sent to Angel Guardian Orphanage in Northwest Chicago, where he learned the newspaper trade, and then he straightened himself out, and that was what he did as an adult was newspaper.